have to share, and that is, of course, Disney Springs is set to reopen. This is huge because this is the first major step domestically that the Walt Disney Company is taking and sort of indicating that, hey, we're trying to get back to a place where people could come visit us. And looks like May 20th is the date that they are talking about. And I know that lot of concern when it comes to, hey, well, what's going to be happening there and how's it going to work? And I know that public health and safety is very important to them. There's a discussion right now via various internet and social media models sort of touching on that fact that, Disney Springs is very large and they do require that, not only do their employees, but also the guests that are visiting wear a face mask and that they want to control the environment. They want to control the capacity that comes to Disney Springs. And I think what's really interesting is that as of right now, only third-party participant locations, so places other than Disney, are going to be reopening in that environment. So where third-party participants are creating space and making something either by restaurant, shop, or entertainment venue. So they are arriving first to the scene on May 20th, but not necessarily Disney. And I think that's interesting, Tyler. They want to control the capacity of Disney Springs. How do you think they're going to make that happen with so many entry points around that property?
That's honestly been kind of my number one question, especially when they're talking about only having a limited capacity and everything. It's like, so then is there just going to be massive lines outside of the orange and lime garages? Like, I don't really know how they're planning on handling that. Maybe they're going to just close off certain levels of each parking structure so that only a couple levels are open. But again, and will there even be lines? I don't know how many people are even going to try and show up. So it's like a lot of questions. And so for me, I don't think I would ever want to be there on day one of Disney Springs because
Sure.
I don't even think Disney knows the answer to any of these questions. So it's going to be really hard. Are they going to be letting people get dropped off like over by the strawberry lot and everything? Like it's really weird. And like I was saying earlier, not even all the places are going to be open. Like I know for sure, like Homecoming said they're not opening and things like that. So it's going to be a weird experience. Imagine, I don't like STK like we talked about a couple weeks ago or whatever, but imagine going there and that poor little DJ guy, has got his little mask on and stuff. Are you going to feel like partying? Like, I don't know. It's like it's going to be a weird vibe.
Yeah, to have it be such limited capacity too, we don't even necessarily know how many restaurants and stores and entertainment venues are going to be opening because they weren't necessarily specific about that, just that it would be third-party participants mostly in the beginning. And Katrina, they're requiring and mentioning, I guess, that only third-party participants at this time. So establishments other than Disney, as we had referenced there. Why do you think Disney is keeping all of their stores and restaurants shuttered during this first phase?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they just want to try to get those people back in and like see how they do and then open up their stuff to try to get cast members back because I don't know. Like
I'm wondering if it has to do, I'm wondering if it has to do with cast members and maybe they don't have they're not ready to train cast members yet again, or
like they don't want to like hire them back on to then if something happened then they would have to like furlough them again and then they would have or like fire them or something and then they would have to pay unemployment. So maybe they're trying to get like the little guys to try to get their stuff done and like the patina group to do theirs.
I'm also wondering if the third party vendors are causing a stink behind the scenes and saying, we need to reopen, please let us reopen because we can't stay here forever. And maybe Disney is panicking a little bit thinking, oh, we don't want to lose our renters, So I think it could be a lot of things.
Yeah, but I do imagine like everybody walking in being like the Disney Cruise Line when you go eat, and then everybody before you walk into the restaurant give you hand sanitizer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's all I can think about right now is like everybody when you walk in is going to be like the Disney Cruise Line with hand sanitizer. And then before you eat your meal, they're going to go around the table and like give you hand sanitizer.
And some of those shops, even in certain corridors of Disney Springs, are relatively small. And I think about the capacity that some of these stores even have to begin with. I think about the chocolate shop within Disney Springs and how tiny that is. I mean, I go
ganachery?
in. Yeah, the ganachery.
Yeah.
I go in there, and I mean, 10 people, and that place is packed. And separating them by 6 feet, as we continue to hear, is something that we should all be venturing to. I don't know if that could even work.
McKenna's Bakery barely has room for 2 people.
I know. It's very claustrophobic everywhere. Like Sprinkles, it's just going to be the ATM pretty much, right?
But are you going to want to touch the ATM? I don't know. I don't want to touch the ATM.
I know, but there's always a line, so only 4 people can really fit in the store. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of lines. I don't know how they're going to try to get the capacity right in Disney Springs. So I guess that's like their first venture. So
yeah. We will see what they come up with. A lot of, I'm sure, plans to put in place, and be interesting to see how Disney Town and sort of the downtown Disney type environments over in like Shanghai have done, and sort of what has won them over, because no doubt they will probably be trying to utilize some of those practices here. Garrett, being our Walt Disney World reporter, you might have some keen insight on this. The language that a limited amount of third-party participants will be open, is this something where if it's, say, a quarter of third-party participants are open in Disney Springs, is that even worth a visit to you, or are you somebody that's in the camp where you're just going to wait until everything is open, no matter how long that takes?
I'm going to go. Me personally, I will not be there on day one, but if I were down there, I would go, because the benefit of Disney Springs is that you don't have to pay for parking, and there's not an admission fee to enter the area. It's a public area. So even if only a few places were open, I would still want to go in, because I want to experience what they've been doing and just, again, take in the atmosphere, because Disney Springs is, in its way, it's a very own park where it has different music playing. It just has a different atmosphere. It's the shopping center of Disney. So I would go there just to check everything out, see what is open, and just walk around, because even though the spaces may be cramped, like what Tyler and Katrina said, the walkways are surprisingly large over there, and it's just a nice place to go. And I think this is going to be just a great chance for people to just get out of their houses and experience like outdoors and something Disney, because as we know, Disney is something that often people need in their lives. It's a very important part of their lives. So I would go and check it out. When everything does open, hey, that will be amazing. But until then, I'll take what little I can get. And since it's free, hey, that's a plus. So I'll go with the free stuff.
It also makes you kind of wonder, I mean, in terms of like outside patios and dining and stuff like that, we are seeing more and more states sort of welcome that idea back into the fold. You can dine with us. It just has to be out on a spaced patio. There are a lot of public spaces. You mentioned how wide the walkways are and how much room there is to sort of get around at Disney Springs. And since it has been sort of reborn in the last few years, it is a great place to hang out at. It is a wonderful place to sort of linger at. But with only a handful of places potentially open based on what they're saying. I also wonder maybe if there's going to maybe be like a moratorium on people hanging out at those outside tables and standing around and lingering, because you think about that, the more people you have loitering, the more people you have just sort of hanging out, not necessarily going anywhere in particular, means the more people you have crowded into a space and potentially in other people's, individual space. It almost makes me wonder if, they are going to remove some of those tables, chairs, and some of those extras that we've come to know at Disney Springs. What do you think, Garrett?
The outdoor areas are very unique at Disney Springs just because many restaurants have their own, but majority is that Disney puts them out themselves. So I could see potentially a removal of a lot of them. Say, for example, a restaurant like Polite Pig, they have a ton of outside area, but they're very cramped together. So I could see them maybe, instead of there being 25 tables, there's only 5 tables. And inside, instead of there being 30 tables, there's only 6. So reducing the amount of area would definitely allow people not to congregate as much. But if they are opening up these restaurants, they need people to sit in places. So perhaps to sort of control the potential chance of COVID spreading, they might say, hey, you can only eat inside of here or in our limited dining space, or you must get it to go and you can eat while walking or something to that degree. But for the outside tables, it's very hard to keep control under that unless they have, say, a Disney custodial member standing nearby just to spray down a table the second they get done eating. But it's very hard to control this just because like you don't know where people have been sitting there. You need clean tables, and you can't have people eating off of trash cans, which is the Disney way of eating during certain festivals. So the tables will be troublesome, but I think that the restaurants will control themselves. And when it comes to places like the Ganachery, which are very tight, they probably will have a team member or cast member out front saying, okay, you can go in, like controlling the flow of people, saying, you guys need to be spread out. You can go in. Now wait. Okay, they left. You can go in. It's going to be a very controlled environment. I have no doubt about that. There's going to be more security, a lot of custodial cast members, and probably Disney management and leadership there trying to support the efforts of their teams to try and make this as safe and healthy. Because Disney's not just going to let it run free. They're going to try and make sure that this is safe because they don't want another outbreak to happen, because then they have to close longer and that's more money lost.
It also seems like Disney Springs might be a hard place to enforce time limits in. I mean, it's so sprawling and large, and there's so many different sort of neighborhoods within the land itself to visit that I can absolutely see that being a struggle. If you're already limiting capacity, you probably want to offer that up to as many people as possible. I know Disney and how they operate, and they would want to do that. They would want to be able to offer up this environment to individuals who also want a chance, who might be standing on the outside saying, I want to get in too. I do not envy guest relations. I do not envy the leaders of operations that have to deal with this. It is going to be quite a struggle, and we all definitely need to keep our patience.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.